Whether you're running a business or running after the kids, most of us men can't spend hours training in the gym or hours in the kitchen preparing special diet meals every day. And we all know what that leads to. So in this video, I'm going to show you what a natural bodybuilder and fitness coach to lose 25 or more pounds in the fastest, healthiest, and most sustainable way possible. And not just what to do, but the thought process behind each step. And let's dive into step one. Most people start their fat loss journey with no clear understanding on how long it's going to take. And they set arbitrary random goals like, I just want to drop 20 pounds, without actually looking into their current body composition and the effort and time required to reach that goal. And it's this lack of clarity that is what leads to frustration, burning out, giving up, losing motivation when the results don't come. So it's important that you set a realistic goal and time frame by estimating how much body fat you actually need to lose. It might be 20 pounds, it might be 30 pounds, it might even be 40 pounds, but it's better to be crystal clear on exactly how much you need to lose before you start, so you know exactly how long it's going to take. For example, I would recommend setting a pace of about 1 to 2 pounds per week of weight drop or body fat drop, which is the equivalent to half a kilo to 1 kilo. Now that's talking body fat. I'm not talking about weight, because the scale can fluctuate up and down while you can still be losing body fat. Because if you drop 1 pound of body fat from Monday to Sunday, but throughout that week you've drank more water, maybe you've gone for more walks, it was really hot, maybe you got a bit of sunburn, maybe your muscles are a little bit inflamed from training in the gym, your body is going to be holding more water weight and potentially more food weight if you haven't, digested food and gone to the bathroom several times. So the scale won't instantly show you that you have dropped body fat, even though you have, because you've been in a deficit, which is something we're going to talk about in the coming steps. So I do recommend using a tool to project just how long it's going to take. And I'm going to show you my tool in a second and how that works and how you can calculate your own body fat targets as well. And then once you do that, you can break your journey into set phases, which is really good for the mental focus and understanding what to expect along that journey. We're going to dive more into that as well. For example, one purely for losing body fat, there could be a phase for maintaining, and then there could be a phase for reverse dieting, which is where you want to eat more food without gaining more body fat. But most people never make it to that phase because they don't even complete phase one. They don't even learn how to maintain. So of course, they're never going to make it to phase three, which is the optimal phase, which helped me eat more food while staying lean, keeping my energy levels high, performing in the gym, and it's getting stronger and stronger year after year. So let me give you an example of the calculator. So let's imagine that you are 225 pounds and your current body fat percentage is about 32. And here's like a chart to give you an example. So 32% would mean that love handles, definitely a protruding belly, kind of moderate man tits, and that would be approximately the 31 plus range. And the goal is to get down to 15%. So based on this algorithm and formula in my body fat and weight goal calculator, that would mean the forecasted goal is 180 pounds. So that would mean 45 pounds needs to go. And if you did that at a pace of 1 pound per week, that would be 45 weeks. If you did it at 2 pounds, it would be 22, obviously double, half the amount of time. So when you do this, you can see clearly that the body shape you want to achieve and maintain is only a matter of time away. If you just do the right things for that period of time, you will get there. There's no magical genetics or special hacks or tricks. It's just a period of doing the right things for a long enough period of time to allow yourself to get to the outcome. But a realistic time frame isn't everything. You also need a sustainable nutrition and training plan that you're going to be able to do for that period of time to make sure that you stick with it without burning out and falling off the wagon again. So let me dive into that next. This is your step number 2. Imagine you're driving a Bugatti Veyron at the maximum speed, 400 kilometers per hour. But they didn't tell you that the car is going to burn through the entire fuel tank in about 12 to 15 minutes. This is what extreme dieting feels like. It's all go, 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 super fast, super intense, burning a lot of energy, but it's impossible to sustain for the long term. This is why you need an approach that not only balances speed, but also sustainability and efficiency, so that you can go the full distance without burning out and running out of fuel. And this is a problem because most men who are honestly busy treat losing fat like some incredible sprint at the Olympics. And they do that by dropping calories way too much, by doing far too much cardio that they probably haven't done in years or forever, going to the gym way too often and being sore all the time, hungry all the time, thinking about food, being tired and just mentally drained from adding so much into their already busy lifestyle and schedule. And we have to remember that losing body fat is a stress on the body. Gaining muscle is a stress on the body. Not sleeping well is more stress on the body. And then if we have mental stress from our work, family, business, financial, and the endless elections, politicians, countries, wars, Ukraine, Russia, all this, the stress is endless. So we need to give ourselves the space and the patience to actually do the right things long term to get the results we want to get to. So for your nutrition strategy, the first place you want to start is by calculating a realistic calorie budget goal. So for example, the fastest way to come up with your starting point for a calorie goal, which is just a ballpark, it's not going to be perfect and it's going to be subject to change based on how much activity you're doing, how much muscle you have, how good your recovery is, the quality of your diet, and many other factors. But a good place to start would be multiplying your current body weight in pounds by 10. So if you were 200 pounds, times that by 10, 2,000 calories is a good starting point, not ending point, because what it takes to get from point A to point B, like that first 10 or 15 pounds off, might need to change to get the next 10 to 15 pounds off. So that's why I call it a starting point. Now that you've got your calorie starting point down pat, you can now focus on your protein goal. So you want to think about your lean weight, what that's going to be in pounds. So if you think about the calculator I just showed you, and let's say 180 pounds is your lean weight, then we can multiply that by a minimum of 0.7. So if your lean weight is 180 pounds, and that's what you need to get to, we base the protein goal off the lean weight, not off the high body fat percentage weight. So let's assume it's 180. If we multiply that by 0.72 at a minimum target for protein, that would bring us to 129.6 grams of protein per day. That's protein within the food. I'm not saying eat 129 grams of chicken. I'm saying it's 129 grams of protein from all different sources of food. Could be chicken, beef, eggs, lamb, fish, whatever, protein shakes. There's so many different options that we can choose from to get our protein across the day. The next best thing you want to do is take a look at all the meals that you eat in a given day and decide what you can swap and change within those meals. So I always recommend swapping low density, high calorie foods for high density, low calorie food, minimizing like the high fat dressings, minimizing cheeses, minimizing anything that's cooked in oil, and reducing that down so that you can increase vegetables, increase salad, increase protein, and complex carbohydrates like potatoes, like rice, like vegetables, carrots, pumpkin, all that stuff that's going to fill up our stomach and digest slowly, keeping a more stable energy, increasing our satiety and giving us the energy to train and recover from the workouts that you're going to be doing. Then you can focus on the next thing, which doesn't have a big impact on fat loss, but has a big impact on sustainability, on food satiety, like feeling fuller for longer, and giving our body the energy when we actually need it. For example, if you work out in the afternoon, there's no point smashing a bunch of carbs at breakfast time and loading up on food that's just going to spike your blood sugar while you're sitting down at the desk. Instead, it might be better to have a very moderate breakfast that's high in protein but lower in carbs, and then keep most of your carbs around lunchtime before the workout so that when you go to the gym, you've got energy there that the body wants to prioritize for the workout session. Or you might find that you just get really peckish and looking for a snack in that late afternoon of the day. Let me give you an example. I'll show you what I mean. Check this out. So imagine this is a full day from to midnight. Here is the morning and the evening. Now, if you get really hungry around about here, which could be 1 to 2 hours before you actually eat dinner, then here is where you would want to prioritize some calories to have a small protein snack something that's going to help bridge the gap from lunch to dinner. Because if you do this, then when you get to dinner time, you're not going to eat crazy and binge and then have more food and more food and more food all the way up until bedtime. But that also means that you may have to compensate over here and just have a lighter breakfast and moderate lunch to allow yourself to have the snack and bigger dinner later in the day that's going to be more suited to when you're actually hungry. And this is why in my program with every client I work with, we utilize nutritional data by tracking the food we eat. And yes, that means tracking calories, protein, carbs, and fats. Any man who says he's too busy or doesn't want to do that, what they're telling me is,
"Excuse me, Zach. I just want to tell you that I don't want results, and I don't want to take responsibility for anything that I eat, and I just want to rely on stupid gimmicks and hacks and fads that don't actually work because I don't want to face the truth of the reality of what I'm actually eating."
And that's why they don't have results. However, every man who tracks their nutrition accurately, consistently, properly, learns the skill of nutrition, and it becomes like second nature because they can look at their plate and go, protein plus this, plus this, plus this, it's probably about 650 calories, and you can do that while eating out at restaurants or eating with family or somewhere different. You have to develop the skill, but if you never develop the skill, you're always going to be relying on these quick fix tactics that never actually work and wonder why you're not getting the results that you want to see. For example, I once had a client who told me that his wife kept on trying to catch him out because at dinner time he wouldn't be having the healthiest, cleanest dinners, and then he would be having like a small dessert after dinner. And she would keep picking on him, but what she didn't realize is that he accounted for it. He already tracked his food for the day. He knew what he had for breakfast. He tracked his lunch. He knew how much capacity he had for dinner. So he was still losing body fat while eating dinner and having a dessert. And then when he finally showed her and she was willing to sit down and learn and listen, she understood that he could actually eat dinner and have a dessert at the same time while still dropping body fat. And this is important because by doing so, he didn't feel deprived. He wasn't craving it while everyone else in the family was, having a scoop of ice cream or a yogurt or a chocolate or a brownie or cookie, whatever it was. He didn't have to miss out on those things either. And this is what made it sustainable, so they could keep losing fat for month after month, and that's how he got six-pack lean. And so once you've got your nutrition dialed in, you know exactly what you're eating, how much you can eat, and you still have flexibility to enjoy different foods with the family or with client and business lunches or going out and have networking drinks or parties. It's Christmas time at the moment, so there's Christmas parties everywhere. You get the idea. Once you've done that, the next step is to balance the right activity with your muscle building, and we're going to dive into that now. This is your step number 3. So imagine you're driving somewhere for 30 minutes. Your car might burn about 2 liters of fuel. But if you just left the car in your driveway with the keys turned on, the engine running but not going anywhere, and you left it on for 16 hours, yet it was just in idle, that car would burn somewhere like 10 liters, potentially more depending on how big the engine is, without even going anywhere. And this is why focusing on really short, intense workouts may burn a little bit of calories, but it's not enough to burn off all the body fat that you've gained over the months or years. And this is where many guys go wrong. I'm going to give you an example using my own Oura Ring data. So as you can see here, this 26-minute walk only burned 88 calories. That's basically a slice of bread with maybe half a teaspoon of butter on it. It's not a lot of energy burn in 26 minutes, right? But if you take a look over here to the right, you'll see that across the entire day, I burnt 2,567 calories. That's a lot more than 88. So what we need to focus on is what are we actually burning from when we wake up to when we go to sleep. And as you can see here, it's fluctuating across the entire day. So a good day is when I've got more of these blue lines and less of the white ones. And this is why I say that going to the gym is not to burn body fat, it's to build muscle and strength and stamina, mobility, strengthen your bones and your joints, and actually be able to live a long life with more muscle mass that's going to keep your BMI elevated above the natural decline that all of us men face beyond 30 and above. So it's very important to work out, but I also want you to focus on your total daily movement like I just showed you, because in doing so, you're going to burn more and more and more calories without having to smash yourself in some crazy intense HIIT workout for 20-30 minutes that's just going to jack up your appetite and make you want to go eat more food. I'm not saying HIIT workouts are bad, I'm just saying they're not optimal and they don't burn a lot of energy. But what will is taking more steps, like using a standing desk, taking the stairs, parking further away, cleaning the house, doing more chores around the house, not allowing yourself to sit down unless you're having a meal or reading a book or watching a show. Otherwise, stand up and go do something. Put your headphones in to a podcast. If you're making a phone call, put your headphones in and go for a walk while you're talking on the phone. Any excuse to get up and move around is adding more and more burn to your day. And you want to create an environment where this just is easy to do and it becomes automatic. So one thing I like to do is I keep a drink bottle on my desk. And as soon as this runs out, it's not a big drink bottle, which is a good thing because I run through this quite quickly, which means I have to get up, go to the kitchen, fill it up. So I'm constantly walking around. I've got another excuse to get up. I also typically leave my phone out of my office so that if it rings or I need to go check something, I've got to go up and go get it. So just setting up your environment to trigger you to get up and move around. Another thing you can do is using a timer like this. So you can set it to like 30 minutes and then put it right in front of you, and that beeps to stand up, move around for a couple of minutes, and that way you're not going to get all stiff and your hips aren't going to get all jacked up and lower back pain because you've sat here for 3 hours. Like, even if you are incredibly busy with back-to-back meetings, I'm sure you can stand up every 30 minutes, even for 30 seconds, just to, do a 360, touch your toes, whatever it is, and sit back down again. And that is going to help in the long run to keep your body more optimized, burn more energy, and contribute to your daily metabolism, making it easier to lose more body fat. I've had clients who are only getting 3,000 steps a day. That's nothing. I would have to be watching Netflix all day just to get 3,000 steps. Just by tweaking their routine a little bit, and some of them even get micro treadmills and put it next to their desk or somewhere, or they'll just start taking the dog for little short walks in the morning or in the afternoon, 5 to 10 minutes around the block. Just by doing that, we've been able to take guys from as little as 3,000 to 4,000 steps to 8,000 to 10,000 steps without it impacting their life massively. And then it becomes a habit. They look forward to it. They want to get out. They want to breathe the fresh air. They want to feel the sunlight on their face, whether it's winter or summer. There's always something that we can enjoy being outside of the house. So even once you've got your activity sorted and it's all factored into your schedule and all planned out and you're burning more energy, you still need to take a deeper look into your schedule to make all this work long term, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. This is your step 4. So imagine you've just been gifted a successful business and you're trying to run it, but you've got no calendar, you know, no idea what time meetings are, you don't know when the deadlines are, and there's just nothing getting done because there's no structure to your days, to your weeks, to your months, and your quarters. Well, the same problem happens in our health and fitness. Without a structured routine, losing body fat, eating well, getting our workouts in, and just moving throughout the day can crumble like an overcooked apple pie. And this is a problem because a lot of busy guys say, I'll start next Monday, I'll find the time, I will eat cleaner, I will fix my meals, I'll start getting salads, blah, blah, blah. They say all this stuff, but when life gets busy, what's the first thing that falls over? All their health and fitness endeavors. So I want you to treat your health and fitness like a meeting, like an appointment in your schedule, because when guys do this, they're a lot more consistent and they mentally are prepared for how the day is going to flow. And even if life gets in the way or a meeting reschedules, they just say, no problem, I'll just go slot it into a different part of the day and that still gets done. But if it's not in the schedule, it's just up in the air and it's left to second chance, and often life will get in the way if we do not prioritize the things that are important to us. So just like you would block out a meeting with your team or your boss or with a client or whoever, schedule in your workouts. Schedule in the 10, 15, 20-minute morning walk. Schedule in cleaning the house or spending time with the kids in the backyard. Schedule in an hour on a Saturday or a Sunday just to prep up some meals, just to make life easier. Maybe it's a couple of lunches, breakfasts, or even dinners. If you know you're really busy and you can't cook, then maybe you can just batch it and then it's already done. You don't have to worry about it. You're going to save more time and you're not going to fall into the trap of then like ordering food or just reaching for whatever's available. And by doing this, by implementing these routines, you're going to minimize decision fatigue, minimize temptations, and it's going to make it so much easier for you to be consistent even when life is super busy and hectic. And I promise you, I've worked with some of the busiest guys I've ever met. They're on 2, 3, 4 planes every month of the year. They've got kids, they've got staff overseas, multiple offices, investments everywhere, presentations, events, you name it. And how do they succeed? It's all down to their schedule. And that's why when a client says to me, I'm too busy to focus on this right now, I'm too busy to eat clean, I'm too busy to go to the gym, I simply say, show me your calendar. And when they do, very easily we can find 10 minutes here, 15 minutes there, 20 minutes there. Even if it means doing a half workout, it's better than doing no workout. In fact, one of my clients has done 2 workouts for a whole year straight. He's now bench pressing more than his body weight, squatting more than his body weight, deadlifting more than his body weight, and doing 10 chin-ups, all on 2 workouts a week. So it's not about how much you do, it's about how long you do it for, and are you progressing with it, because it's in your schedule just like everything else is. But again, having the perfect schedule is only half the battle. You also need to account for the unexpected curveballs and lemons that life is going to throw at you. Let's not pretend that it's going to be all easy, because it's not going to be. Everyone is busy. We're only getting busier. So if you're anything like my successful clients, chances are you're going to have a busy life in the future, just like we all are. And that's why this next step is even more important. This is your step number 5. So I once saw that Donald Trump, when working on major real estate projects, he would gather his team of engineers and architects and everyone and say, hey, go find out, identify every possible problem that's going to get in the way of this project that will make it fail before we break ground and after we break ground. This proactive approach made sure that they had solutions for every single problem and obstacle before it even popped up. And this same approach is essential when we want to lose body fat. And that's because most guys just say, I'm going to start next Monday, or when life isn't hectic, or the 1st of January, I'm going to go hard and lose all the body fat, and I'll figure it out when I get to it. But life doesn't pause for your goals when you want it to. If you've got a business, if you have a wife and kids and family, they're not just going to put everything on pause for you to go train every single day and go eat separate meals and not be a part of life. There are other things that are important. There's deadlines, there's customers, there's clients, there's kids' soccer and baseball and basketball and dancing and birthday parties and Easter and Christmas and holidays and all these things that are going to pop up throughout the year that can easily derail anyone's progress. It's only going to leave you frustrated and demotivated, or even disappointed in yourself because of the impact that it had. This is why we want to treat your body transformation just like a business project. And that includes anticipating challenges, so reviewing your calendar for upcoming events or trips or busy periods. Anything that can get in the way, plan for it. I always ask my clients, is there anything coming up this week or soon that's going to get in the way? And we plan around it. So if you know that Q1 is the busiest time of the year, then you want to focus more on maintaining and sustainable routines like meal prepping, or just doing shorter walks broken up into smaller chunks, doing less intensity that isn't going to take up more of your time. Then you want to allocate resources, so planning your workouts differently in low stressful periods compared to high stress periods, and scheduling your meals around those as well. So if you know you've got a busy week coming up and you got back-to-back meetings, you're not going to have time to go out and order a lunch and sit around and wait. Maybe that week you will order some pre-done meals, or you will meal prep on the weekend, or even at dinner time. You'll make 2 servings or an extra serving at dinner so that the next day you have lunch available. Then you want to build contingencies. So for example, taking healthy snacks with you to the office, or keeping it in the car, or wherever it is that you work, so that if you can't stop and eat, you've got something to have that is healthy and nutritious. It's going to help you hit your goals. Or if you're traveling somewhere, you might say, well, I'm going to be on the plane or in the train or the car for ages, but when I get there and before, I'm just going to stay on my feet so that I can clock up a bit of movement to offset all that sitting. Then you want to communicate your boundaries, so it could be with family, with your team, with bosses, colleagues, or clients, whatever it is, so that they understand your priorities, they understand your boundaries, and not to disrupt you, but ideally support you on this journey. It could be that you work out between a set period of time, you eat at a set period of time, you don't take calls between this hour and that hour, and when you're at home, you have time with the family and then time for yourself. This way, when you've got those boundaries, it's going to make it a lot easier, and you won't get overwhelmed by biting off more than you can chew based on the type of phase that you're in with your work or with your life. I never condone quitting or stopping training or eating like crap for no good reason. However, if you're about to go on a 4-week trip to Europe, then your goal should be to at least maintain where you're at while enjoying the trip without gaining more body fat, without losing muscle, but not trying to get shredded and living in the gym every single day while your family wants to go and enjoy the damn holiday. And this way, when you combine all these things, you can create a system that works with your life rather than you fighting against it and feel like you're clashing yourself every day just to go and eat healthy and just to train. It doesn't have to be difficult. It just has to fit in around things that are popping up and have a contingency plan to deal with life challenges as they arise by planning ahead. So once your life and your business and your family is all mapped out and you understand what's popping up and things are running nice and smoothly, the next step is to understand whether or not your plan is actually working. Because you can do everything perfectly and still not get results unless you're paying attention to the essential data points, which I'm going to show you now. This is step number 6. Trying to run a business or investments without tracking any financial data. Therefore, you'd have no clue as to what direction it's going, what the trends are. Are you in profit? Are you in a loss? Where all the money's going, where it isn't going. And this is exactly what it feels like when you're trying to lose body fat and you're not tracking any biofeedback data. And the problem is that most guys just focus on the surface level metrics, like hopping on the scale once a week, writing down, go to the gym and just crossing it off their to-do list. Or thinking because they just ate a healthy lunch that's enough and they can go and eat whatever they want for dinner, or eat healthy from Monday to Friday and then just blow it all up on the weekend. And as a result, they're missing crucial data, such as your total daily calorie intake. Are you consistently in a fat loss deficit, or are you stuck in maintenance or a surplus gaining body fat? Then there's your protein. Are you meeting your target for muscle gain, or are you losing muscle because you're not eating enough protein and you're not training and recovering? Then there's your carbs and fats. Are they balanced to give you the right amount of energy when you need it? Are you recovering and giving your body and brain the nutrients and vitamins and minerals that you need to be healthy long term? Then there's your strength and workout progression. Are you progressively getting stronger and building more muscle over time without wasting time in the workouts? Then there's your actual muscle mass. Are you gaining more muscle and building fast twitch and slow twitch muscle fibers while losing body fat? Or are you losing muscle while losing body fat? And then all this combined contributes to your daily metabolism. This is your steps, your BMR, all the movement you do throughout the day, all the food you eat that gets digested. All this combined contributes to your daily metabolism. Is that trending up or is it trending down? So without the minimum of these metrics I just mentioned, you'll never know exactly what is working or what's not. And that's a problem, because then when your progress stalls and flatlines and you get stuck in a plateau, which happens to everyone, you're stuck, frustrated, trying to guess what's working, but feeling like nothing's working and there's something wrong with you, when really there's something wrong with your plan and your diet and nutrition and your training. That's what needs to change, not you. It's the plan that you're following needs to pivot around your lifestyle and pivot at different phases throughout the journey, because as I said earlier in this video, what gets us from point A to point B isn't guaranteed to get you to point C, point D. You get the idea. So this is why I want you to do this. Start treating your body like a business. And this includes daily tracking, keeping an eye on your calories, on your macronutrients, on your steps, your workout progression, that's the sets, the reps, and the weights that you're doing, and across all the exercises, and also tracking your body weight consistently so that you can build a consistent trend. And this leads me to step 2. Giving yourself a weekly average review. This is your weekly average trends. So this is going to apply to all the data points, and then you can see that whether or not your calories are too high or too low or just right. Are you getting enough protein across the entire week, or is it too low on some days? Is it high enough on others? Are you gaining more strength and progress in all of your workouts, or are you getting stuck, and do you need to make some changes to the exercises that you're doing to get more progress without doing the same thing over and over and over? And this is why it's really important to have these daily set targets. So hitting your calorie goals and your protein goals and your step goals and calorie burn goals every single day. For example, like hitting 10 to 12,000 steps, burning 2,500 calories, eating 130 or 140 grams of protein across 3 or 4 meals. These are your guidelines that you want to follow every day. This is your routine that you're going to be implementing that comes into your schedule, that applies to your meals, to your diet, to your training, to all the things you have to do to get your body lean and keep it lean. And it's this biofeedback that gives you this constant daily update of what direction you're heading so that you're the captain of the ship. When you get stuck in a plateau, it's very easy to just change the dials and pivot your plan so that you can break out of that plateau and keep getting more progress, which is what I do for my clients one-on-one. We look at everything every week, and by doing this, I'm training them how to do it so that when they get their body lean and ripped, they already understand how they did it and they've got a routine that they can take with them for life. They don't ever need to get trainers anymore. They don't even need to do another program because I've given them the tools and the keys to the results for life. And I want to give you an example of being accurate. So a lot of people will think like, oh, I'm eating high protein because this packet here says high protein and that's good. But that's not accurate enough. That's just a label on a packet of food that is full of fats and processed carbs. This is not a high protein food. It's a high calorie, low satiating packet of food that isn't really going to help you hit your goals. It's full of fruits and nuts, so high sugar and high fat. What I'm talking about is detail. It's knowing the specifics of what is actually working. So tracking your food to know I got 42 grams of protein for breakfast. I got 19 grams of protein for lunch. I got 52 grams of protein for dinner. And across the entire day, I got 125 grams of protein and 1700 calories. This is the level of detail that you need to get into and automate and systemize in your life so that as you're getting the results, you understand why you're getting the results and you can keep the progress going long term. And now that you're tracking like a pro, like I have for the last 10 years, this next step has the biggest impact on everything we've just talked about, and you're going to see why. This is your step number 7. So imagine I've just picked you up, put you on a plane, and we've flown to the Himalayas and we're going to climb Mount Everest. We're standing at the base, you're full of energy, you're excited, and you're motivated. But as soon as we start the climb, the air starts to get thinner, the climb gets steeper, and it becomes more challenging. And I see a lot of guys just dive into their fat loss journey with a short-term mindset, expecting to see quick and rapid results day after day, week after week. It's all fueled by motivation, but they don't anticipate the challenges that lie ahead, which is broken down into 4 phases. Phase 1, I call this the honeymoon phase. This is when your motivation's super high and you can get quick progress and it feels easy. Then there's phase 2. I call this the grind because this is when progress starts to slow down. This is when you say, oh, you know what, I am feeling more hungry. The meals aren't keeping me as full as they used to. And this mental fatigue and grind starts to kick in. And this is where most people give up because it's not as easy. And they just want to quit because they thought, well, it was easy, now it's hard, therefore this is where I should stop. Then there's phase 3, which is the plateau. This is where it's all about the small adjustments and the little changes that make the big difference because you're being consistent. This is how you keep breaking through the next problem, breaking through. But it's the frustration and the lack of patience here is where guys start to get a bit diluted and derailed and they start to fall off the wagon slowly but surely because they just don't want to see the small changes. They want the big changes. And then this is what leads us to phase 4. Only when you graduate phase 3, you get to phase 4, which is the reward. And this is achieving your goal. And it's not just about hitting this target. It's about doing it in a way that you've built habits in phase 3 that actually makes the reward, your results, sustainable long term. So without understanding these 4 phases, it's so easy to just get completely blindsided by life as soon as anything becomes difficult. But you can see how this phased approach, there is challenges along the way, and that's what makes this part of the process. Because if it was super easy for everyone, then we wouldn't have 73% of men in the US classified as overweight and obese. It would be more like 10%, but that's not the case. So instead, here's what I want you to focus on. Phase 1, leverage the motivation that you have to start building that momentum. So focus on everything we've just talked about in all the steps. Use the motivation to get everything set up in your nutrition, your training, your routine, and start tracking your progress. Then in phase 2, you want to rely more on data and accountability to stay consistent. and be mentally prepared for progress that may start to slow down, but it still remains consistent. It's that gradual progress that we want to see, not ups and downs and massive fluctuations. Then in phase 3, focus on the micro wins. So this is like lifting a new weight that you've never done before, getting an extra 1 to 2 reps on an exercise that you've been doing for a while, maybe getting an extra 500 to 1,000 steps on a day that you used to struggle to get up from the desk, getting an extra 30 minutes of sleep. It's the little micro wins in phase 3, the plateau, that's going to pay off long term. Then in phase 4, you can transition from a fat loss dieting phase or a deficit to your maintenance phase. And then once you've maintained your maintenance phase and you've kept your body fat and your body weight and your muscle mass at a consistent level, you can start to look into more advanced tactics like reverse dieting and start to recalibrate your routine for longer term, more advanced goals. And of course, celebrate your achievements, but stay mindful of the habits you've built to sustain them. Don't let the old you come and take over and pull you back down to where you used to be. Embrace the new you and the person you have built in the process. And be real with yourself by acknowledging that each phase requires a different mindset. It's not about always pushing, because once you get beyond that motivation push phase, it's actually about working smarter and making little tweaks along the way that's going to keep you progressing further. Just like you would do in a business or a sport or anything, you can't go from 0 to 100. You have to work your way up step by step, just like we would do in a video game, for example. And now that you have the mental map that you can apply to prepare for this journey, there's one last piece of the puzzle to bring this all together so that you can get lean ASAP. So imagine that you're training for a marathon and you're running it solo. So that means it's easy to skip a day whenever it's raining or it's cold or it's windy, or maybe you didn't get good sleep last night, the dog or the kids woke you up, maybe you're super stressed from a deadline in business, or you got too much work on, or a client cancelled, now you don't have enough work. Whatever the reason is, you find it easy to slack off because there's no coach, there's no group, there's no partner, there's no one there holding you accountable. So it makes it harder to keep yourself accountable because there's just nobody else counting on you to show up for yourself and for the goal that you've set. And this is a problem because I see a lot of busy guys try to go this journey by themselves. And it comes back to that quote that if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And by together, doing it with somebody else who's going to hold you accountable. Because if nobody needed accountability, then none of the best sportsmen in the world would have coaches and none of the top CEOs would have mentors. And this is important because it's easy to talk yourself out of not eating correctly with your diet and snacking on foods you don't need. It's easy to feel discouraged if one day goes off track or you have a blow up weekend and you see the scale spike, you're blaming yourself, feeling guilty. You're not going to pull yourself out of that guilt and shame, but somebody else will. And it's easy to see your data and think that you're not doing enough when you could be doing far more than what most people are actually doing, but you don't have context or comparison to contrast what you're doing against what's actually working for everyone else. Our own mind can become our enemy on this journey, and this is why we need someone to help us. I never would have got on stage and competed in bodybuilding if I didn't have a coach guiding me every single week along the way. Exactly what to eat, my macros, every exercise and workout I was doing, all the cardio I was doing, how to pose correctly and make sure that I presented well on stage, because you can train for 6 months to a year, but if you don't know how to pose, nobody can see how well you look on stage compared to everyone else. How to put the tan on, how to do the prep week, and all these little things I had no idea about, and I would have quit so many times if I didn't have a coach guiding me on this process and saying, hey, this is completely normal, you're doing really well, just stay focused, don't stress, don't worry, everything's going according to plan. Even when I was freaking out, everything was fine. So here's what I want you to focus on. The first thing is your accountability, your personal accountability. So that's like your biofeedback tracking, everything that we've already talked about, tracking daily, logging it, your weekly trends, and staying consistent to your KPIs. The second thing is social accountability. So sharing your goals with the people who care about you, who are close to you, who will support you. I don't recommend posting your goals all over social media or telling people who don't care, because if anything, that can backfire and it can give you this quick hit of dopamine to think that, hey, I've just told everyone I'm going to do this and they think I'm really cool for committing to it, and then when you start to slack off, that motivation's not going to be there. And the third thing is professional accountability. So this is where you want to consider hiring a coach or a mentor or joining a program that fits for your goals and for your lifestyle and how you like to train and how you like to eat for the goals you want to achieve. So then that way, this coach and program is going to give you the guidance that you need. It's going to give you objective, data-based feedback, not emotional-based, made-up bullshit, and going to keep you motivated when times get tough and when you're beating yourself up for the progress that you can't see. So what you're really doing is building this support system which acts as like a safety net around you to catch you when you're doubting yourself, when you're losing motivation, when you feel like you've failed, but you haven't, you've come so far, and then you can zoom out and say, hey, you know what? I have done a good job. I'm on the right track. I'm going to keep going. And then here is my next step. I'm just going to do that before I worry about step 2, step 3. You get the idea. And this is why when people go and hike Mount Everest, they have a Sherpa, someone who's done the hike many times, knows all the crevices and turns and cliffs and icy peaks that they need to navigate. Otherwise, if someone had to figure it out on their own, there would be a lot more deaths on that mountain. And there's been so many times where I've given clients their plan and they're all excited and boom, they start crushing it and going really hard, but then life gets in the way. The kids come home with the flu from school, then the wife gets it, then they get it, then the whole office gets it, and everything just for 2 to 3 weeks is just in an absolute circus for them. And they're feeling really bad about it because they've missed some workouts, they haven't been able to eat their normal meals, they haven't got enough steps in, and they're not seeing the rapid results. However, before all that, they were making really good progress, and during the period of being sick and chaotic with just the disruption that they had for themselves and their schedule, they still maintain their body weight. So it's still a win. They won before the crazy period, and they're winning during the crazy period because they're not regaining any weight and they're not losing any muscle. But it took me giving this perspective for them to actually start feeling good about themselves again and stop beating themselves up for not going super hard every day when they simply couldn't because they were sick laying down in bed. So now that you've got all these 8 steps mapped out in succession to go and apply, you will get lean as soon as possible only if you take action on everything I've just explained. But if you're looking for a proven plan that fits your busy life and is designed for the lean, built and muscular body that you want to achieve, click the link in the description to learn more about my blueprint routine. Then go watch this video to make sure that you avoid the top 5 mistakes that stop busy men from getting lean year after year. Go check it out now.